Well, a Colombian man may hold the key to a significant breakthrough in Alzheimer's research. The 40-year-old man should have gotten Alzheimer's based on his genetic makeup, but he didn't. Scientists say they found a rare gene mutation involving a specific protein in his brain, and now experts are wondering if this could be the clue to helping others with the disease. Let's welcome our panel. NewsNation medical contributor Dr. Dave Montgomery and emergency physician Dr. Leigh. So, Dr. Montgomery, how significant is this really? This is one person we're talking about. So is there a wider takeaway here?
Yeah, no, so it's very exciting in terms of a possible cure or at least some feasible remedy when it comes to Alzheimer's. Millions of Americans affected by Alzheimer's disease. It is a condition that we heretofore have no cure for. And so what this was about was a protein that was found almost accidentally in two different individuals that it has a mutation. It naturally occurs in brain nerve cells. And that mutation actually stopped this man who had an autosomal dominant, he had a genetic predisposition for Alzheimer's disease, stopped him from having Alzheimer's disease. So the question really is for scientists, can they take a protein that is genetically engineered, right, and give it to people to fight Alzheimer's disease? Remember, it's a tangled protein problem. And can this new protein that they found actually counteract the effects of the abnormal tangled proteins in Alzheimer's disease?
And it'll be really interesting to see. So, Dr. Vinokur, when discoveries like this are made, what is a realistic timeline of its impact on the public, especially those patients struggling with the disease right now?
It could be years before they actually are able to isolate the protein and create it. It's interesting because his family had this genetic mutation creating pre-senilin-1, and then this protein, reelin, seemed to protect him from getting dementia in his 40s and 50s. But it takes a long time for drug development. I mean, we see that's why drug companies have 17-year patents, because it can take them years and years to develop something like that. But something exciting like this, as Dr. Montgomery said, I'm sure there will be a lot of companies trying to fast track it, because right now there's just no cure for Alzheimer's, and it's very hard to detect, although there are families that have early onset, which is a devastating diagnosis.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds promising, so that's some good news. And here's another health story that has us all talking. Using low-calorie sweeteners isn't better for weight loss or your health, it turns out. The World Health Organization says going sugar-free or using sugar substitutes made no measurable difference for people. So, Dr. Vinokur, I'll start with you. One day it's eat more of this, the next it's you shouldn't do that. Should we be pivoting every time we hear about a new study? What would you recommend?
Well, eating healthy, whole foods, the same way in the 70s, and Dr. Montgomery can talk about this, the same way in the 70s when we started to go to low fat, everybody gained weight. Now there's these non-nutritive sweeteners and people are gaining weight from them. And we're finding out that they cause the same problems that we see related to metabolic problems and syndromes. And I'm sure Dr. Montgomery can speak to the fact that there was a new study with erythritol that now says maybe it's causing clots and heart disease. So the key is you really need to eat healthy and cut out regular sugars, and don't use this as a substitute, because it also ruins your taste buds, and then you get a little more addicted to wanting sweet things.
Dr. Montgomery, what is your take?
Yeah, I mean, I would piggyback on what she said with this bit of information, and that is that they were really specific about what they recommended in this new guidance. Looked at 200 different studies, and they said that the sugar substitutes, these non-nutritive sweeteners, are not good for long-term weight loss. They didn't argue against short-term weight loss. In other words, there may be a use in certain circumstances. And there are some patients, for example, that I use it in on purpose. For example, people who have out-of-control diabetes, we might use a non-nutritive sweetener as sort of a bridge to a better lifestyle, right? Because you can't go from 0 to 60 and have it last for a long time. But they said long-term weight loss, it's not that good for you. And to Dr. Vinokur's point, the erythritol, which is a kind of non-nutritive sweetener, it's got a little bit of calories to it, has been shown to cause clotting in the cardiovascular system. I think the message is this: let's try to be as natural as possible when it comes to our food sources. Remember, food is medicine.
Well, that's easy to remember. All right. And here's one last headline that may be alarming some folks. We're hearing about Mpox, the virus formerly referred to as monkeypox, making a comeback. Should we be concerned about that? Dr. Vinegar, I'll toss that one to you first.
Yeah, well, I think what was a little concerning, it was a small outbreak in Chicago, but these were vaccinated men. So that's what's a little concerning. So the question is the vaccine not 100% effective? Because in the beginning, we couldn't ramp up to the vaccine as much. But prevention is the key. It's the best thing that we have now. And obviously, going into summer, we shouldn't panic. It's not like COVID. These are very close contacts or sexual contacts. It's a rash. You get flu-like symptoms initially. So obviously, if you're sick, if you have a rash, I mean, you need to see your physician. I wouldn't go out in public like that. But I think we need to look at the vaccine that we're using now for the Mpox and see if we can find one that's more effective, because it's a virus and we don't have a treatment for it.
Dr. Montgomery, we have about 30 seconds left. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, 100%. This is 1 week after the WHO just declared this Mpox virus no longer an international emergency. But what I want people to take away from it, it doesn't mean that it no longer matters. It just means that it's not as much of a problem. Still, the United States has a third of all of the cases in the world. Remember, this was a virus we didn't see on our shores. So we still have to take some of those precautions.
All right, Dr. Dave Montgomery and Dr. Leigh Vinegar, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.